when you study the definition of cybercrime, you'll come to know that in case of cybercrime, you just need to have a computer system, and with the help of that system, you target another computer system. So, in case of cybercrime, normally we take help of one computer system and we target another computer system, and ultimately, a real person will get affected because of that action. So they are hackers, and the poverty, unemployment have direct relation with the cybercrime. Because in case of regular crime, you need to take physical action, and there is a great probability that law enforcement officer will catch you. But in case of cybercrime, it is very easy to hide your identity. Okay, so for example, in Bihar, somebody is Nigeria or in Russia, they target those persons who are having a little knowledge of this, the functioning of the this computing system. I'm again emphasizing on this, that these are amateur cyber criminals, and they are targeting the innocent people or the person who are having very little knowledge of the functioning of this IT infrastructure, etc. And in most of the cases you will find that women are easy target, because they say that the target, and they have different tactics to target, and they easily provide them information. So here you would like to know that what is basic difference between the amateur hacker and the pro hacker. So whenever we talk about the amateur hacker, so amateur hacker simply means a person who is not having great knowledge of the functioning of the computers. They are not having knowledge of the computer source code. They are not knowledge of the designing of a program, etc., etc. They have nothing to do with the functioning of the computers, but they are good at a particular application of the program. So for example, there are certain tools, and those tools are developed by the pro hackers. So for example, if I want to steal money from your account, so what kind of information I should have? So in that case, I should have your personal accounts detail, your personal information like your address, your email address, your contact number, etc., etc. And with the help of that, I can do certain tricks, and with the help of those tricks, I can steal money from your account. The things are now changing. Earlier, you used to have a physical SIM or duplicate SIM so that you can get OTP. Earlier, there was no concept of OTP. So when law enforcement officer, or other like legislative bodies, they have seen that this kind of problem, so they made strict regulations, especially banking sector. So now we have double verification system where you need to verify your transaction with the help of a temporary OTP. So these OTPs are temporary. So if you will not use that OTP for for 1 minute or 30 seconds, then that OTP will expire, and you need to again generate a OTP in order to complete the transaction. So now cyber hackers can have a virtual SIM. So virtual SIM will have the same qualities of the physical SIM. So in that SIM, that person is able to get all the messages and all other things. Those are services which are available to a particular physical SIM. So, but these kind of technologies are not easily available to amateur hackers. So these are developed by the pro hackers. So pro hackers have good understanding the functioning of a program. They have knowledge of the computer source code, and they also know that how to develop a malicious program in order to obtain a specified information. Okay. So there are different kind of information. There are different kind of servers, computer system they want to target. So for example, if these pro hackers want to hack a government database, so there are multiple layers of security. And there's a good thing that every security have their own loopholes. They know the functioning of those security levels, and accordingly, to bypass all those security protocol, they develop a specific programs. So with the help of those specific programs, they get access to those government servers, and they can have control over that government database, and they can delete, they can alter data, they can do whatever they like. And most of the cases, when you reboot your system, so rebooting is one of the most vulnerable stage uh, in IT infrastructure. So when you reboot, at that moment, uh, that security protocols are not available. So, and that very moment, they can insert a malicious program into your server and can get control over that server or get confidential information, etc., etc. So these are pro level, crimes. And what about these amateur, hackers? For example, this OLX scam. So in case of OLX scam, they will contact you. For example, if you want to sell anything, and they will offer that I'm interested in that product. So I just want to book that product so that you can, you will not sell that product to anyone. So they will insist that please accept 5,000, 1,000, 10,000, whatever, money as per the subject. And they send you a QR code that I'm sending this, and when you will scan this QR code, you will get the payment. And most of us, when they scan such things, at that moment, they normally, don't read all the, like notification or message that pop-ups. So in that case, instead getting money, you will pay money to that person, and you have no clue that who is that person, from where that person is calling. And once your transactions are complete, then it is very difficult to get your money back. But there are certain good things being introduced by the SBI and this RBI, that whenever you make any transactions, for example, you send money, you can reverse that transactions if you immediately report to the bank. So there is some transition period. So during that transition period, if you'll report, then bank will reverse that process and you can get your money back. What if there is an important question, if your money has been sent and that person have already withdrawn that money, and there is no enough money in that person's account, then there are problem for that person who have sent money by mistake, or have become target of such cyber criminals. Okay. And there are cases of like cyber terrorism. So that we are not having good relation with our neighboring countries like Pakistan, China, and they often try to target our government database. Okay. And they want to obtain some confidential information. And technically, if there are confidential information, normally government bodies, they don't save that confidential information over their servers, because servers are not safe. And under the CBI reports and other intelligence report, either domestic or foreign, they directly indicated that the government websites are targeted by cyber criminals, especially from Pakistan, China. And if they will keep such kind of information on their server, then there are greater chances that they will get that information and will be against the interest of that country. So they first they will not save this kind of information over that portal or website. And if there is a requirement, you can encrypt that information, and you can use different mechanisms of encryption. For example, dynamic encryption. So in case of dynamic encryption, it is very difficult to reverse that process, or this dynamic process is being used by the in cryptocurrencies. So therefore, cryptocurrencies are one of the most secured encrypted currencies. Anyway, so we know that there are different levels of or different kind of cyber crimes, and there's one big problem that how you will fix jurisdiction in case of cyber crimes, because in that case, in case of cybercrime, you just not only need to get support from the platform that person have used. For example, there is a person who is a cyber criminal. That person have targeted any government website or any businessman or any individual, and that person have used a anonymizer. So in case of anonymizer, you will not get the proper IP address of that person. And if you will not get the proper IP address of that person, it will be very difficult to fix the jurisdiction, because you have no idea from where that person have targeted that computer system. So in order to get complete information, you just need to get support from that platform. And unfortunately, most of these platforms are not registered in India. They are not having their offices in India, and they are functioning from a place where, and that country will not provide any kind of assistance. So that is one of the biggest problem. So if that company will not provide you the real IP address of that person, it will be very difficult. Second is MAC address. So MAC address are unique. So in case of cyber crime, you will have the knowledge of the MAC address. But at the same time, you just not only need to have knowledge of the MAC address, but you also need to have a knowledge of the IP address. And there's a good thing with the computers that in case of physical crimes or real life crime, you can destroy evidences. Okay, we have seen different cases, that ROC murder case, where court was struggling to get the evidences because the murder was like committed by an expert, by a doctor, and they know that how to delete or how to erase these evidences or how to hide these evidences, etc., etc. So there are greater probabilities in case of real life crime that you can destroy all the evidences. Okay. For example, earlier there were some gangsters. They used to keep crocodiles and piranha fishes. So whenever they kill someone, they throw their bodies to that pond, and these crocodiles and piranhas, they eat their entire body, and in fact crocodiles are able to digest their bones also. So in that case, after 1 year or 6 months, you will not get any evidences. Okay. But in case of cyber crimes, your footprints are recorded. And it is duty of the intermediaries and service providers that they need to keep that information for a certain period of time. So whenever any person reports about a crime, then you can get that information from different persons or different companies or platforms, etc., etc. So it is wrong to say that in case of cyber crime, you will not get proper evidences. And there is one big problem that we are facing, that our law enforcement officers are not that capable. They are not, having that much of technical knowledge so that they can deal with such kind of cyber crimes. So first we need to train them. We need not to train them about the law. We also need to train them about the technology, that what kind of tools they should use to obtain such and such kind of information. So, for example, if you have deleted your all the content of your hard drive, even if they are capable to retrieve that information. So they are capable not only to retrieve that information from one layer, in fact, in some cases, they are capable to retrieve information from up to 15 layers. So there is information that there are, the writing of that information on one layer, after second layer, third layer, fourth layer. And you can reverse this process and you can get the deleted data. Okay. So we need to train them about different tools, the application of those tools, etc., etc. And it is a continuing, or it is a regular exercise, because the tools the cyber criminals are using, they are changing day by day. So therefore, you need to train your law enforcement officer about the updated, tools. For example, skimmer. So skimmer, earlier skimmers, is a device where you just need to insert your credit card or debit card, and that skimmer device will have all the data available on that card. And with the help of skimming devices, they can write a duplicate card, and that duplicate card will have the same characteristics of the previous one. So earlier skimmers, you need to just insert your credit card or debit card, but now new skimmers, there is no need to insert that debit card or credit card. You just need to touch, and touch itself is a enough to obtain all the information. So for example, I am having a skimming device in my bag, and you are having your credit card or debit card in your wallet. I will just touch my bag with your wallet, and the skimming device will have all the credentials of your credit card and debit card, and later I can print and I can do whatever I want. Okay, so I'm telling you because the cyber criminals are changing their behavior, their modes of the commission of the crime. So traditionally, I think you might have knowledge of this, that the jurisdiction, there are different kind of jurisdiction. For example, territorial or original jurisdiction, local jurisdiction, pecuniary jurisdiction, jurisdiction as to the subject matter, and original and appellate jurisdiction, exclusive and concurrent jurisdiction, general and special jurisdiction, legal and equitable jurisdiction, and section 9 of CPC. So these are typical jurisdiction fixed by our legislation. From Supreme Court to lower court, we have different jurisdictions, and you should have, as a lawyer, good understanding of the jurisdiction. Otherwise, they will not entertain your application. Okay, so that is one thing. And second, there is a one big problem that whenever we talk about these international crimes, or anything that have international input, so in that case we should have international agreement. Okay, and so whenever we have any international ties, so that really help us to solve our issues. For example, intellectual property rights. So in case of intellectual properties, there are international treaties, and most of the countries are part of that treaty because they know the importance of that treaty. So in case of the violation of anyone's individual this intellectual property right, they can get remedy. Okay, so there was a time when they, if you want to protect your intellectual property, you need to register your product, intellectual property, in different countries. Otherwise, there is no protection of the your intellectual property. But there is a PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty. So if you have registered your patent under that PCT, then it will automatically register to number of countries. So your patent is secured in that country. So if anyone will try to duplicate that product, that will be a prohibited act, and you can try that person, and there is no problem of jurisdiction, etc., etc. So why not we should have a international treaty on fixation of cyber jurisdiction? Because most of the country, they think that they are not the victim of such kind of cyber crimes. And to what is the benefit of signing that treaty? Uh, I'm giving you an example of a malpractice. For example, this Swiss bank. Okay, so we know that most of the businessmen, politicians, they have their, they have account in Swiss banks, and their money is somewhere, secured in that bank, and they will not reveal the identity of the person who is having account in their bank. Okay, so somewhere, what community should ask a question that Switzerland is somewhere promoting the illegal practices, because least developing countries and developing countries, they are struggling for a good political order, so that they will get good infrastructure, and infrastructure is something required for the economic growth. Instead developing their infrastructure, what they does, they take bribe and they send that money to Swiss bank. Okay, so ultimately Switzerland is growing on their money because they are taking interest on their deposit. And in case of normal banking system, you get interest on your deposit. But in case of Swiss banks, they get interest on your deposit because they are providing you a service. What is that service? That they will keep information of that person, and they will not disclose any information about that person, even if the government of that country will insist. Okay, and there are some countries, those countries are exception, that in United States of America, where their Congress have passed a resolution that Swiss banks should disclose the name of person having their account in Swiss bank, and they are to publish information regarding it. But that is not the case of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some of African countries. Even if their government will insist, they will not, provide any kind of support, because they know that these countries are either poor or not strong enough, and there is no benefit to provide them any kind of finance, assistance to them. But you cannot, ignore America, because America is is strong enough, so they can take any action in the United Nations, and that will be a problem for any country. So jurisdiction is the authority of a court to hear a case and to resolve a dispute involving person, property, and subject matter. So these principles of jurisdiction are enshrined in the constitution of a state and part of its jurisdictional sovereignty. So jurisdictional sovereignty is really very important. So there are new concept of jurisdiction in globalized era. Traditionally, jurisdiction, this sovereignty simply means that a country is free to take decision in internal and external matters, but not today. It sounds good that country is free to take decision in internal and external matters. What about taking a decision on international forum? There are lobby, and you cannot ignore that lobby. So you need to follow the the commands, or we can say the directions of that lobby, because you are part of that lobby. And if you will not provide any support to that lobby, they will not, provide you any kind of support in future. So in that case, there is no independent or sovereign act of that country, because they know there is a compulsion. So whenever there is a And compulsion, so compulsion is totally against the principle of sovereign function of the government. And it is happening in United States, in the United Nations. uh, the least developing countries and developing countries are not free to cast their vote as per their wishes, except some cases. Okay. So for example, if you are a strong country and if you want to take an resolution against a country, and that country was not in fault, even if you want to take action on that country, these countries are bound to provide their support to support on that resolution. And we have many example of it. Okay. So United Nations, they have become a tool for these developed countries so that they can take advantage of the process of this United Nations and fulfill their demands, etc., etc. So jurisdiction, you all are familiar that what is jurisdiction, and you all are familiar that what are the limitations are attached with fixing the jurisdiction in case of cybercrime. So we have already discussed that there is a municipal jurisdiction and there are international jurisdiction. So in case of municipal jurisdiction, there is no problem because laws are clear. Okay, but in case of international jurisdiction, laws are not clear, and you totally need to rely on international treaties and convention. So if there is an area where there is no proper treaties and convention on particular subject, and world community is not part of that treaty and convention, then fixing jurisdiction is really a big issue. Okay. So we need to develop a platform where the world communities can come and they can express their viewpoint, their grievances, etc., etc., and that body should frame regulations on that subject, and all the signatories should follow the directions of that treaty or convention. Okay. So that is in theory. So when we practice, there are several national interests, and these political parties, they are very much having interest with the national interest, because they cannot ignore the national interest or the general mandate of their people. So if the people are against a particular thought, a particular mindset, it is very difficult for them to go for that treaty on convention. For example, NPT. So our people were totally against the this to sign on this NPT treatment or this agreement, and it was quite against the interest for the government of India. If they'll sign NPT, it was really very difficult to develop their nuclear arsenal or nuclear product in future. And in a case where you know very well that your neighboring countries are nuclear power, so in that case you cannot afford to say no to development of this nuclear product. So that is why it was totally against the interest of the India to sign this NPT agreement.